In every corner of the world, nestled within the memories of childhood and the whispers of nostalgia, lies a silent kingdom inhabited by man-made beings, both enchanting and enigmatic. From baby dolls and play dolls, to the more scary voodoo dolls or even haunted dolls and collector's items. They are more than mere playthings only, they play with our imagination, are reflections of culture, and repositories of emotion. Today, we will unravel the stories behind these silent guardians of childhood dreams and cultural treasures, and this time, we do it in the form of a podumentary. Without further ado, let me explain you about a doll that is more than just a doll. This is the story of the Daruma doll. This round-shaped doll finds its way back to the founder of Zen Buddhism, Bodhidharma, in the 5th or 6th century. As the legend goes, Bodhidharma was an Indian prince who embraced Buddhism. As a monk, his dedication found him meditating in a cave at a Shaolin temple in China for 9 years straight. As days turned to months turned to years, his limbs withered away due to the lack of movement. But he persisted, staring with a deep gaze at the cave wall. As the legend goes, after 7 years Bodhidharma fell asleep. He got so angry with himself, that he cut off his eyelids to never fall asleep again. It is said that as his eyelids dropped to the soil, the first tea plant sprouted, which is told why tea has energizing properties, namely caffeine. Many centuries later, in 18th century Japan, the Daruma doll was created to honor Bodhidharma's legacy and teachings. It carries Bodhidharma's name in Japanese and is modeled after his distinct appearance, with round shapes, as during the meditation his limbs fell off. Today, these dolls come in many colors, each carrying their own symbolism, but red being the dominant color. Red has long been considered a protective color in Japanese culture, believed to ward off evil spirits and bring good fortune. This belief strengthened as devastating childhood diseases like measles and smallpox spread across Japan, taking the lives of many children. The papier-mâché doll is often weighted at the bottom, so that when it is tilted, it returns to an upright position. This symbolizes resilience, perseverance, and the ability to overcome obstacles, reflecting the Zen Buddhist concept of fall 7 times, stand up 8. But perhaps the most distinctive feature of the Daruma doll is its single, blank eye. Traditionally, when a person sets a goal or makes a wish, they paint in one of the doll's eyes. The other eye remains blank, symbolizing the journey towards reaching that goal. Once the goal is achieved, the person paints the second eye, completing the doll's vision. That way, people get a daily reminder to persevere and stay focused on their goals. An explanation of how this custom came about, says that to motivate the Daruma doll to grant your wish, you promise to give it full sight once the goal has been achieved. The opening of the second eye expresses enlightenment or the realization of a goal. The tradition of the Daruma doll remains a cherished part of Japanese culture, particularly during the New Year festival. At Daruma doll burnings, also known as Darumakyu, dolls are burned
in a sacred fire to mark the end of the doll's cycle, to luck and fulfillment. And with a new year ahead, fresh one-eyed Darumas are sold and bought for new goals and aspirations to be wished upon.
Nice. I like that. That's an interesting story for me. I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
Boy.
Yeah.
Nice. So this here.
Yeah. So this is the Daruma doll. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll make some shots.
Of course.
So this is the Daruma doll.
Okay.
And as you can see, this one actually has his eyes drawn already. So I guess my
goals are
achieved.
I guess my wishes already come true. Which is to sit at the table with you guys.
Oh, look at that! You're way too cute.
No, and a lot of these Daruma dolls, they have different colors, as I was saying, and red being a dominant one. And it's also believed that red, the color red changed over time its meaning because
Akai in Japanese.
Akai?
That means red.
Okay.
Oh.
So when there has been fierce moments of smallpox and measles killing a lot of children across Japan, red also became a symbolism of death, and therefore also red became connected to luck. So you would give a Daruma doll to a child who was suffering from measles and smallpox, and oftentimes to recognize the children that they are in fact sick and they carry the infectious disease, they would give them a red rope, like what do you call the fairy tale? The red hooded girl.
Little Red Riding.
Little
Red Riding Hood.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like it's a symbolism. So if it's the red one, I have the black one, but if it's the red one, it looks a little bit like a child with a red hood on, actually, because you can see it's like it carries some sort of rope with only the face sticking out. And the black one is like a good luck for business and venturing. So I'm all about that.
Perfect. This is a great sign right here.
Yes. So that's how we move forward.
So it's I don't know if you guys are interested in knowing more about the parts, but I thought it was an interesting story because it says a lot about how dolls are very ingrained in Japanese culture. So there's many more as we
I've seen it definitely.
There's so many stories that are saying a lot about the. I think it's different from Western cultures in the sense that we often see it as a plaything or more connected to horror, as I'm sure we'll discuss today. Yeah. But in Japanese culture, it's very much connected to morals as well. Morals, luck, talisman. So more like
a lot of superstitious things in Japan in general. They are like not only tied to horror movies or this or that. Of course, there are a lot of Japanese horror movies, but like Shinto spirits as well. For instance, is like spirits that possess like even like a drop of rice or your pasta or your noodle, or the walls. Everything has its own Shinto spirit. There's so much superstition there. So I think for a place like Japan, it's quite normal to have these kind of dolls and like to not have it like be some horrific thing or just a plaything. It can be more than that. Right. Definitely, like even like not only in Japan, I think in Asia in general, this is a bit bigger maybe.
Yeah.
Hence is why I did like the first episode of the Glymp about Japan, because I knew there's like some weird stuff going on there. Yeah. If it's really going on there, I don't know, but I think the world kind of perceives it that way, and for sure the people there themselves as well. So yeah.
And what I'm curious about, guys, like I think we're talking about dolls today, but I just wanna hear why. Obviously, I decided also to go for this topic. But what is the fascination with dolls? Or you want to stay on this?
Well, first of all, I want to just say hi to our viewers wherever they are.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Just introducing ourselves. Where I'm looking there. Okay, yo, what's up? Back again with a new episode. This time it's something different. It's not your usual documentary. It's something that we all came up with, the Podumentary. I thought it was quite an interesting concept. These are my guys from the Who Dis podcast.
What's up?
Maybe introduce yourselves a bit. By the way, my name is Roy from the Glymp. I didn't know if I mentioned already, but okay. That's me. But who are you guys?
And I'm Dayne from the... I don't know what that is. But I'm Dayne from the Who Dis podcast. I'm also from Jamaica.
Fucking Illuminati.
Big ups. Big up yourselves.
I'm Joe. I've already bigged up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm like 6 foot something.
That's right.
Yeah.
Biggest thing.
Yeah. Now, I'm also from Who Dis. This is my buddy Dayne, and this is...
Good.
Maarten. Yeah. So thanks everyone for joining. And this episode is going to be about dolls and why are humans so fascinated about dolls. So maybe Roy, you want to tell us a bit about why we're talking about that today?
Why are we talking a little bit about dolls today? We're doing a whole damn podcast about it. Well, I think in general, people on the internet, where this episode is gonna belong, I think people on the internet are just fascinated with dolls overall. You have like the craziest doll stories, whether it's be like people adopting dolls because they cannot have kids, to creepy dolls, to history shows or whatever. There are just so many aspects, cultural aspects, this and that. There are so many different doll aspects that we can kind of cover. And I think you guys, they do a lot of history. I do also history stuff, a bit of creepy stuff, and I think that's why we kind of came up with the doll concept, right?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I think it's a great crossover concept.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a great story how we came up with this. So one night we were sitting thinking what we should be doing, what we would need to do for this story, and we started to talk about dolls.
This is crazy, by the way. This is crazy.
We started to talk about dolls, and my friend here, Maarten, stepped out because he had to take a phone call with a friend of his. And while we were there talking about how creepy dolls were, on the phone, his friend was also saying that her mom has a room with creepy dolls that she's just in at that moment. And it was just like, what the hell is going on? That's some creepy...
Yeah, because we were like doubting between two topics.
Right.
And then you came back and you thought we heard you talking about that, and then that's why we came up with the concept.
Right,
but
exactly.
we didn't hear nothing of you.
Yeah.
It's just such a weird coincidence, I think.
So I think whatever spirits was out there wanted us to talk about this, please don't possess anything in this room. Thank you.
No. No, that's good. Yeah. She was creeped out by her mom's doll collection. No, was it her mom's doll collection?
Yeah. So porcelain dolls. So it's like
Porcelain.
The scary ones.
They stare at you, you know.
They just stare at you.
No, but so today we're talking about that, and maybe we just heard one story, and we'll go into that a little bit after. But I'm just fascinated about the question why do you think we're so obsessed with dolls? It's like I read that the first doll that was ever found was like 30,000 years before Christ. That's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago.
So it seems like humanity, like the birth of humanity, also brought the whole concept of dolls with it. Actually,
Yeah.
so what is it?
For sure.
What gives us the fascination of creating something that looks like us? What do you think, Joe?
I don't know, man. I feel like it's borderline instinctual. Like you just, as soon as you start making something, like you just create yourself. Like I don't know, if you look at little kids, like they're gonna draw them and their parents and things around them. And like I just feel like it's like as soon as we got conscious.
Yeah, and I think humans are also in general just fascinated with miniature things. So it's like a small version of a human.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they're life-size, like baby dolls, of course, but still it's a small thing. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. This is, for me personally, I even like miniature things. So
Can you do the mic a little bit closer?
like that?
Yeah.
Better? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think, Dayne?
Yeah, I think, I'm going to go biblical with this, right? One of the verses in the Bible in the beginning when God was creating, he said, let's make man in our image and likeness. And we became miniature versions of God. And then taking that in mind, I'm thinking the story comes from people wanting to create. They know there's something in them that wants to create. So they create. But when they create, another obsession they have is a creation of themselves. Like, why do I look like this? Why do you look like this? What is this? And then they try to make a form of that in a smaller version of themselves. But of course, it always never is quite us. And I think there's a sort of obsession with it, but there's sort of a terrifying feeling that this is an empty shell that looks like me in some ways, but it's not quite me.
Yeah,
and
that's the scary part.
Right? And whatever it could be scary. Whatever could take over the shell is not going to be human, or maybe the worst of human.
Yeah. Because we have to like already just get the uncanny valley, just throw that out of the way to already say it, because it's like that moment of, because like we're trained like not even psychologically, but like evolutionary psychologically. I don't know how to combine those two words right now in my head.
But
evolutionary psychology.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There we go. I just said the two words. But no, we're like, we've sort of evolved to be able to recognize patterns that look like eyes and faces, just like as a survival instinct. First of all, like if you're out there, you need to be able to see if something's looking at you.
That's right.
And then we're really likely to start recognizing patterns of faces in other places. But then as soon as those faces become more and more realistic, like there's that uncanny valley, and that if you look at like a bunch of random studies that go into it, like it's that the best way to describe it is that double take of, is this now looking back at me?
Yes.
Well, what's
And
the
that's the
uncanny
uncanny valley. It's that moment where something is just human-like enough that you need to really look at it further to see if it is actually human or if it is actually, in a certain sense, looking back at you.
So if it's alive,
it's slightly off. That's
because
right.
because it's slightly off, but also it doesn't have to be like super realistic for it to be already Uncanny Valley. It just has to be like weirdly alive for it to be Uncanny Valley.
Right.
So like there's this study that like showed a bunch of like little baby dolls, and then they ranked it, and then they show like 10 pictures randomly, like, and they progress from like less realistic to like most realistic. And then they asked the participants to kind of determine like, is this alive or not? Is this like, do you see this being alive? And there's like this, to like the left, it was just like a bunch of like little circles, and basically they were like, nah, and that was not uncomfortable at all. And then there was bits that there was one real picture of a baby. That one was for sure fine. But then there were some pictures that were realistic, but were also fine. They were just like, there's nothing wrong with this. But then there was like something like one level below that where it was like, wait a second,
is this real?
Is this real?
Yeah.
Is this? But it's also too weird that I'm now uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
And like it was that moment of like, but one above that, if it was still unreal, but it was like cute enough, or it was just like, just right in the, or wrong in the right ways, it wasn't creepy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So it's right that stop between where it stops being a toy,
Yeah.
but starts
Dayne,
being too.
Dayne, you're
It's that stop right between where it stops being a toy, but where it's not quite human yet.
Yeah.
Right, and that's where you start to get that sinking feeling, like, there's something wrong, and so you're fascinated with the dollar, and then there's a dip in the way you feel about the thing that you're looking at, and that's what the valley is. It's that dip, what they call the uncanny valley. It's like, it kind of looks like us, but it kind of.
And how does this relate?
If you look at animation, like if you look at really bad animation, like really bad 3D models that just look creepy, like it's when they get realistic in a weird way. But like if you look at Pixar, like they have like wider eyes and like more expressive features where you're just like settle into a certain comfortable of like, I recognize this person potentially being alive, because you have to like see the character, you have to like reflect yourself, and you can't do that if you see it as a husk. Yeah. But it's still cartoony enough for you to feel
comfortable, exactly,
non-accosted by, non-threatened by it.
Totally.
And there's many reasons. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it becomes even more freaky if it's like the doll that resembles your grandmother, right, or something.
I mean,
like that.
do you have that? What?
Well, that sounds oddly specific.
Yeah, there's such a specific.
You remember the one about my grandmother?
There's a lot of cultures where they recreate dolls and also voodoo, right? Like it's so you could recreate a person, right? And then if that person resembles that person, like if the doll resembles the person quite well, then that becomes a bit freaky.
There are even like some places where they like really, they do taxidermy with dead babies, and they make a doll out of that for it to be cherished forever.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because people wonder what the Uncanny Valley is, right? And why the Uncanny Valley exists. And one of it is that it's the recognition of a dead body. Like when you see a dead body, right? It's not quite human still, right? But it was human. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it doesn't feel like.
Exactly.
You don't feel that.
And so that's why they think it's that gives you that sinking feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
That's corpse-like, but it's not quite human.
Yeah, then there's like this other concept. It's like, before I was telling Maarten as well, it's about adoption of baby dolls. There are like a lot of not mothers, wanting to be mothers. Mm-hmm. They cannot get babies. Mm-hmm. And what do? They adopt a doll. A lifelike doll, and there are like companies that make these lifelike dolls, and they are super realistic. But but it's like again the same thing. You see that they're not alive,
right?
So like But they don't feel it as a bad thing because they're taking care of it. They have like whole nursery rooms and everything for that. You know?
Right.
But
And
then the whole purpose is to make it realistic.
Yeah, but
So
still,
they-
it's a thing that's not moving. It's there.
But
Right.
That, you know,
and
or
I
not
imagine,
that, but lifeless.
like they made it just cute enough so you don't get that uncanny valley feeling.
I-
you
I-
know, there's probably
For
some
me,
sort
it's-
of
For me, it's scary. Like,
quick maths like going into that doll making. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah, I
think,
guess.
I think
Yeah.
what happens if you see a thing that looks like a baby and you go up to it and it looks exactly like a baby, but when you touch it, you realize it's not and it's plastic. Then your brain freaks out.
Yeah,
and like,
yeah, yeah.
what the hell? What is this? There was this TikTok video that they did that with. Like they had the baby, and I swore it was a baby, and then they just squeezed the face.
Yeah,
And the face
I've
sunk
seen that,
in.
I've seen that, I've
And
seen that.
And I remember my whole brain just freaked out.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, what the hell just happened? Why is he crushing that baby's
Yeah.
face? Until I said, oh no, it's not real. But then it took me a time to kind of like shake that feeling
yeah,
of wow. What
same
just
with the
happened?
cake. Have you seen that one as well?
Right.
Like
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
baby cake,
Is it
and then
a
they
cake?
chop it up,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's all red
exactly.
inside. So first of all, it triggers you weirdly, but
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another I love these theories about the uncanny valley since we're on it. I love all these theories around the uncanny valley that have to do with even disease, right? That you can see people who are diseased. And one of the theories in it is that the more the thing moves, is the more deeper the uncanny valley is. So if you see a corpse-like thing moving,
Oh yeah.
it then becomes a little bit more unsettling
Yeah,
than
yeah.
just seeing
Of
it
course,
lying
of
there.
course, of course.
And one of my biggest theory, the one that I loved the most, was that somehow in our past there was a predator that was hunting our ancestors that would mimic us in order to catch us.
Oh,
I've heard that, and that's why when we
Yeah.
see that,
new to me.
especially if it's moving, that it gets even worse for us.
I also read.
But those are theories, huh?
Yeah, I read a theory also about the uncanny valley specifically, and like other hominids, like Neanderthals, like
Yeah.
like cousins of humans
That's
that
right.
evolved separately, like that were alive like 200,000 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
You had like the Neanderthals, and then that were like in Middle East and Europe, and then you had like the Nosivans. I've only read that word. I don't know how it's said.
How?
The Nosivans.
I'm not sure.
Anyways, those are like other cousins that lived mostly in
Pre-human.
Central Asia.
Well, they're human, but
No,
They're
everyone's
hominids.
human.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah.
They're not our ancestors. They're our cousins.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And then one of the theories of the uncanny valley is meeting them and then having that weird feeling of they're like us but not really like us. And then because at one point you did have to compete for survival.
Yeah. I
So
used to
that's
be
very-
very afraid of them when I was a
yeah.
kid.
We genocided the
But, like-
Neanderthals, man.
Yeah, but
So-
we also fucked them.
Yeah, totally.
Because there's still some Neanderthal DNA in some. Yeah.
And everybody who's not, who has like non-African, like because like when we left Africa is when we started fucking them. So like people who are mostly still African are like non-Neanderthal, and everybody who left has a little bit of Neanderthal DNA.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
Speaking of, people do that with dolls, right?
Yeah.
So
Let's not get started about that.
We can jump into like, people have even the fascination
Sex
of,
dolls.
Let's get it.
Of I need something that looks human to get me aroused, but I can't quite use a human, or there's something about controlling this thing
Yeah.
that looks like human.
Yo, what's crazy is that like when we were preparing for this, I did not actually think about sex dolls.
Me neither.
at
It just
all.
pops up right now all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
Right.
It's
Well,
super
I
weird.
legitimately,
This
I was
is
just
how-
like,
And I have a couple at home, no, just
shit.
kidding, just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah,
Of course not.
do you get that like when you're fooling with them? They're just like, oh, that's weird.
Like it's scary.
But yeah,
It's scary and nice at the same time.
just like-
But I want to jump back into what that thing is like, as you said,
Yeah.
this thing that is not quite human, partly animal, or something that might have haunted us, or something that might have been some sort of danger to us. I think we still carry that over, and we still tell those stories when we do the horror stories, or we do urban legends, or we do just the cautionary tales that happen when we talk about things that look like us but are not quite us. And even aliens,
Yeah.
we do that too. Aliens look
Yeah,
like
for
us,
sure.
but not quite us, and they're here to do us harm.
Well,
and there's a story I would like to tell following that.
Take us there, Dayne.
Yeah, so pediophobia and coulrophobia. Coulrophobia.
Pediophobia, not
That's-
pedo.
Is that afraid of children? Is
Pediophobia.
that afraid of children?
Pediophobia
Yeah.
is a fear of dolls.
Oh, okay.
Right, and coulrophobia is the fear of clowns. And so I'm going to bring, and you have something called pupaphobia, which is the fear of puppets.
Get us into the story, man.
Okay. So, it was a it was a dark, stormy night with rain pelting against the windows like ghostly fingertips
Tapping on glass. In a cozy suburban home, Sarah, a young babysitter, was tasked with watching over 2 children while their parents were away. The house was warm and inviting, but as the night wore on, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Her unease grew when she noticed a room filled with dolls and statues, their lifeless eyes seeming to follow her every move. But it was the clown statue in the corner that sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. Its twisted grin and hollow eyes seemed to mock her, filling her with a sense of dread that she couldn't shake. Throughout the night, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the clown statue was alive, its gaze boring into her soul with an intensity that made her skin crawl. She tried to brush off her fears as mere paranoia, but the feeling persisted, growing stronger with each passing moment. Finally, unable to bear the eerie presence any longer, Sarah decided to call the children's parents and ask if she could cover up or remove the statue. With trembling hands, she dialed the number, her heart pounding in her chest as she waited for them to pick up. When they picked up, Sarah made her request, and to her horror, the parents responded with urgency. Their voices were filled with urgency and fear. They instructed Sarah to gather the children and leave the house immediately. They warned her to be careful, telling her that they didn't have a clown statue and that the children had been reporting sightings of a clown lurking outside their windows. Panic seized Sarah's heart as she realized
the truth. That figure, right now looking at her, was not a statue at all. It was a person, dressed as a clown, watching them, but now from inside the house.
Wow. Damn.
That's
madness.
that story gave me like goosebumps, though.
God damn.
Like a little bit of goosebumps. Just
Yeah.
like-
I wasn't expecting like a real clown.
No, it's like, because at the end of the day, was it a clown or was it
That's
or
like
was
a-
it a human or was it a doll?
That's like a double bluff uncanny valley. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Clowns, dolls, humans,
yeah.
spies. What is it like?
Well,
It's
so-
it's funny because dolls, for me, dolls and clowns do the same thing.
Exactly.
Because it's either you like them, you hate them, or you love them, right? You're a fan of clowns. You find them funny, or you
Yeah.
find them entertaining, or you find them really freaky.
Yeah. It's that unsettling feeling of like, I don't know how to feel about this. Like with the uncanny valley, it's like, I don't know if this is alive or not alive. And then with the clowns, it's like, I don't know if this is funny or scary.
Right, and I think
then-
it's the thing that the thing resembles a human, but because of the mask, this is why masks freak me out sometimes. Because a mask that looks too human, and you put it over the face, gives me the sense that this thing is a human, but there's something off about it because it has on a mask. Right, and it's the same thing with the painting on the face. It's like, I know this thing is a person, but because of the face painting, something
but it's like,
about this
but
person.
you know what? It's like only with certain face paints, because there are face paints like in some
Right.
cultures and they look good,
They're
and I'm not
beautiful.
scared of them.
Yeah.
I'm not really scared of
But is
clowns,
this-
but like
but is
a
this-
clown looks more scary than just any type of face
It's
paint,
this
you know?
painted
Yeah.
smile.
Yeah,
It's
that's the thing. I
painted
think the
smile
fake.
that even when you're feeling shitty, and even when you're doing something nefarious, and even if you're trying to kill me, you're still
Yeah.
going to have that smile on your face,
Yeah.
right?
I think is that the creepiest bit about clowns is like, cause
For
they-
me it is, I know.
No, because they always have the painted smile, and then let's say the clown, the person is not necessarily smiling with their
No,
eyes.
exactly. It's like
because they're
they're
performing.
they could be
So-
depressed as fuck,
Yeah, yeah,
suicidal, but they're still
exactly.
smiling and making kids happy.
But
Exactly.
you can see in their
Dark.
eyes that
Yeah, I wonder, like, so like a bad clown is gonna be like terrifying because they're just dead in their eyes, and then like painted smile on their face.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What's his name? John Wayne Gacy. Never forget that he was a clown, and he was also a serial killer that was killing children.
Oh, damn.
Yo, my mother-in-law used to be a clown back in the days. for a little while.
I mean,
wow.
She's good though. She's good. She's
Yeah,
not
she's
an evil
good.
person.
Yeah.
I love you.
This is a mighty moment to bring her up.
Nice crossover. But staying on the topic of unnerving stories around dolls, I think you have a story to share, right?
I definitely do have a story to share. You mean like the island story?
Yeah.
I definitely do have a story to share. I think we should just go into the documentary mode right now.
Yep.
So let me take you there. This is a story about an island, but not just any island.
I'm talking about the island of the dolls. Known as Isla de las Muñecas in Spanish. A small island located in a remote area within the canals of Xochimilco, south of Mexico City, far away from mainstream society. This island is known for its eerie atmosphere, and the reason for this has to do with dolls, but not just one doll. This island is full of hundreds of old, decaying dolls, hanging from trees or placed in creepy compositions in an almost artsy way. How did this came to be? Let me explain you. Let's travel back to the mid-20th century, when a man named Julian Santana Barrera moved to the island. He was a lone wolf who sought solitude on the island after witnessing a traumatic event. The drowning of a young girl, in the waters surrounding this island. Shortly after, near the same place, he discovered a floating doll, and he hung it from a tree as a sign of respect for the deceased girl's spirit. Soon after this, Julian became convinced that the place was haunted by the girl's ghost, and he felt a need to start collecting more and more dolls to appease her spirit, and protect himself from potential evil. Over the years he salvaged, traded or found so many dolls, that he managed to fill the whole island with it. This created a super dark display that became even more dark as time passed, because of the dolls aging and becoming more and more ugly. He became so obsessed that at some point he claimed that the dolls would whisper to him, move their limbs or follow him with their eyes. For Julian, the only way of coping was to collect more and more dolls, in the most obsessive way possible. Until, one day, in 2001, unfortunately Julian passed away. And his death made things even creepier. He drowned at the same place where he believed that the little girl had died. This story became quite popular, and thus thrill seekers started to visit the island, fascinated by its haunted history and ambience. And because of this, a new story emerged. Now it is said
Julian's ghost is also trapped on the island, together with the dolls and the ghost of the little girl, haunting anyone daring to step foot on this island.
Mamma mia!
Crazy, right?
Oh wow!
Yeah.
That's like
So it is still there, like
it is still there. You can visit it.
Wow.
People visit it a lot, but
Wow.
there are some things. There are a lot of fake islands because now it's like such a dark tourist. You call this dark tourism, right? When you go
Right.
to these places, there are like fake Isla de Muñecas just to earn money, you know.
Sure,
but they are not the real island. So when you go there, you have to really be well informed that you have the good island.
Yeah.
And then you can get that real eerie atmosphere. Although any island filled with dolls is probably scary
Yeah,
already.
sure.
but-
No, I freak out about a room filled with dolls.
Yeah.
Can you
This is
imagine
not a room.
stepping No, exactly. This is definitely not a room. There's a whole island of these things.
And in the most terrible ways, like
Yeah.
with nails through their neck on
Yeah.
the trees and like
wow.
crazy
Yeah,
stuff,
that's
crazy
messed
stuff.
up. Yeah. I've seen pictures of that one.
Well, why?
Why? No, he just like it started as like a homage to the little girl that he tried to save, but like she died anyway, you know.
But did it sort of did it make him depressed or something that he turned out that
Yeah.
more darker pictures started to come in his mind or something like that?
Well, it started as a homage, but then it became more and more dark as he started to feel that like he needed to protect himself. And his way of protecting was putting more dolls. But by putting more dolls, I'm sure when you have a little bit of, because he had a little bit of a mental, how do you call it? Mental sickness. He was a little bit mental.
Yeah.
I think when you start to put more and more dolls, it's going to make you even more insane, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's like he got trapped in his own world kind of thing, you know?
He surrounded himself by his oppression and his obsession, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think maybe all of these things that he did to disfigure this doll was an attempt to kill whatever it is he thought that was wrong with the dolls. But it just made it worse.
Oh, totally.
Even more freaky.
Yeah, it just made it without me pinning it against the wall. I remember walking into a restaurant in Baltimore, and I'm trying to remember the name. It's something like Full Moon Cafe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But you walk in, and there's just pieces of dolls everywhere.
Well, like limbs.
Like limbs.
Why would you eat
heads.
there?
And you know what? Because Baltimore is weird. And they love that about themselves. And I think this is one of the things that is part of their character, is just the fact that you can, this exists. When I walked into the space, I was like, of course this exists here.
Yeah.
This is Baltimore, right?
A culture of shock there.
Yeah, well, trust me. It's a culture of like, you can always find anything that you're interested in, even if it's strange. I feel like there's always a little niche subculture there that you can find for yourself.
This is a perfect segue into like something that I was thinking of again with the question of why are people obsessed with dolls? Is it like that little thrill-seeking aspect of it? Like it's so creepy that you're just thrilled by the creepiness, and then you kind of reinforce it.
That's definitely what's happening here with the dark
Yeah,
tourism.
with the
100%.
dark tourism, and then you also have like Robert the doll. That's like know about that guy.
Oh, that's a scary ass doll.
And why we go watch horror movies.
Like
now he's in
It's interesting because
he's in a museum in
he's in a
Key
museum
West.
behind glass. Just because people are not like fully secured that
do you know the story of this random Robert the doll?
It's called Robert, I assume.
Yeah.
Correct, very correct.
And he's a doll. Yeah. So like there's this like rich family in Key West, like right below Florida, and like they're like like basically American. Florida, man. Yeah, Florida men. Like basically American aristocracy, and then like let's call him Grandpa Otto. Like they're something German, but like Grandpa Otto was in Germany, like and on a trip of some sort, and he finds this doll with like a little dog that he wants to give to his grandson.
And he was called Robert, actually, the grandpa. He was called Robert himself.
Yeah. So like they named. I can't remember if Robert the doll was already coincidentally called Robert, or
No. He was named
himself
after the grandpa.
So he gave it to his grandson, and the kid just named him Robert after his grandpa, I guess.
Yeah.
But the point was that they had this big estate, and then the grandpa was like, the kid's 8th birthday was coming up, and the grandpa was like, oh, I'm gonna give him, he's a lonely kid. Here's the dog. He's got a little dog with him, so it's gonna be his friend. And then the kid just kind of latched on to I think was Robert the kid, and then he named the kid after.
No, I think it was the grandpa's name.
What was the kid's name?
The kid's name, I have no idea.
Doesn't matter, because I think he was also...
Comment the name of the kid.
Comment the name of the kid.
Because this is like a well-known story. But anyways, so he comes like latched onto a doll, and like inseparable. And then at one point, like the family starts like hearing like weird noises with the doll, and etc. and so forth, like a low grumbly sound, like "Are you doing that?" Like like straight like demonic, and like the mom would hear the kid playing with the doll upstairs, and then like who's like prepubescent, so there's no way his voice is like, "How are you doing?" But like he would, she would just exactly like literally that, and then she'd be like, "I don't think that's my son. I don't think," and then like she'd just go up, and then the kid was there with the doll playing, and it's like, who was that? What was that? It's like, oh no, it's me and Robert. That's Robert. Stuff like that.
And Robert got a low voice.
Yeah, and then but I'll get to the whole fascination of like thrill seeking in a second, because I find it more fascinating how the story ends than the actual story, but I feel like I have to get through the story to get there. So just haunted as hell, but the guy never lets go of the doll, and like at one point they even have like a rotating series of caretakers, because like again they were like a rich family, they had like people working on the estate, but like at one point, like because it got so weird with the kids' behavior around the doll, that people would just start quitting. etc. and so forth. And
He became way too old for a doll, you know?
yeah.
But he
Like,
was obsessed and attached.
He was
to it.
obsessed and attached.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And like they would start like reporting stuff of the doll moving in different places, like they're cleaning and then the doll was there, or like things crashing, and then them checking upstairs and the kid was cowering in the corner, like all his furniture like messed up and upside down, and then Robert the doll was just sitting there normally, and the kid was like cowering in the corner, being like, "Oh my God, Robert, he did this." In retrospect, I'm pretty sure it's the kid latching on to whatever was going on with him, with his doll. But the story became bigger, and the kid, now a guy, like marries, becomes an artist, has this house in somewhere in the area, I think also in Key West, and like he places like Robert the doll like at the window of his studio, and so like passers-by like also just start reporting, "Oh, there's a doll," and then it moves through the window.
Like, it's one of those houses that you pass by every day. There's a door in the window. I don't want to have nothing to do with that house.
And then they sell the house, and this woman buys it, and the family has moved out, except that they've left the doll.
So they also bought the doll.
Yeah, so they just kept the doll, and then again they start reporting like, at night, like you'd hear noises, or you hear like little footsteps around the house, or when she's cleaning, the doll would just be in different locations, without any sense or reason. And then eventually she just donates it to the local museum. And it's still there.
And
like,
they put it behind glass, like I said before.
Yeah.
They're like still scared of it, because like you don't put it behind glass just because, of course, it's a museum. But I think they did it here as a protective measure as well, because there are a lot of dolls in that museum. Not all of them are behind glass. This one, they put it behind thick glass.
And here's the fascinating bit. It's like now this story has gotten so big that people will go to the doll, and like now they're still afraid of the doll. Like the doll is still quote unquote causing shenanigans, where like if you insult the doll, like, or if you laugh at it, like, because it's a really creepy looking doll. It's just like
two black eyes, just black little, how do you call it, knot or something like that.
Yeah, like buttons.
And, buttons, black buttons, and then
like a very pale face that's like slightly deformed.
Like it's a bit mutilated as well.
Yeah. So then they like. The story still goes that if you make fun of the doll, you'll get curses, and then people have started like attributing like car crashes or like even like cancer, like things that happen bad to them. They start attributing to them having made fun of the doll.
Yeah, but there was also something
at the museum
crazy.
visit.
There was something crazy as well. This doll was wearing like a sailor's outfit, and I think this was the outfit from a deceased kid or something. I think, if I'm right. So this kid deceased, I think, and then they gave the sailor outfit to that doll from a deceased kid.
But that's the thing. Like that's when people start making stories when it starts getting bigger than life.
Yeah.
So
This happens a lot.
What is real and what is not real.
In my head, it's just like one neighbor pulling pranks on one family.
And
then there's another family moving in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make some nice
But that boy moved. Hey, but that boy moved though.
Yeah.
Didn't he move into a different house? Is that what I heard?
No, the same house. They
He
sold the house.
Yeah.
They sold the house and left the doll
They
behind.
just left the doll there.
But like this was like when he was older. Now he was an artist, and the doll was like sitting at his art studio. And then you also don't have like a lot of stories from that time period, I think.
Okay.
But the point is like now, like the museum receives like thousands of letters of like people, like sending letters to Robert, being like, please.
Save me.
Like, no forgiveness of like, I'm sorry I made fun of you. Things are bad happening to me, Robert. Like, things like that. So it's just like, it's kind of like people go there with I sincerely think like with the hope of being cursed, because like they, get like excited. It's like a little bit of like a thrill-seeking thing of like, I'm going to go see this doll now.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then whatever, and the bad things that happen to you afterwards, like, oh yeah, it's because I saw that doll.
Do you remember what time period that was?
It was like the whole originally was like early 1900s, and then in the 70s or 80s, the Robert passed away and then moved on to the lady, and then like way more recently, the doll joined the museum.
Okay.
And like it's still at the museum
Yeah,
now.
like the Annabelle doll is
I mean-
also.
And they're
on
getting
Netflix.
they're getting letters like now.
It's still
Yeah.
it's freaky in the sense that if this new person that moved into the house didn't know that this doll was freaky and start reporting on the fact that it's freaky, that's freaky to
That's
me.
the-
That's
freaky
freaky.
bit.
But then it would go to your
Yeah.
theory about somebody messing with.
I mean, it could be. It could be. I mean,
that's a theory.
It would be
Yeah.
funny,
But like
but maybe.
But
maybe
it's still a creepy story, boy.
maybe it's interesting to now flip it around. So I think we talked about dolls that can be a bit creepy. We started, of course, with the story that dolls can have meaning in cultures, and let's make it a full circle and go to the story you are going to present today, Joe, where dolls can also have a beautiful side to them, or very like a lot of
Like a symbolic side.
symbolic,
yeah.
like a symbolic side to them.
Yeah, because it's not just here's the thing, like the creepiness added to the doll is just one aspect of people's relationships to it, you know? Like it's because I think we've just as literally as humanity, like across multiple cultures, have just established like a very complex relationship with little miniature versions of ourselves.
Right.
Yeah,
Because there's, and this is a really short story, so it's gonna be like 30 seconds because it's again also going back to like Central America. It's like
Take
in
us there.
Guatemala.
All right, Joe, take us there. Take us
it
there.
away.
Yeah. So in Guatemala, you have little muñequitas quitapenas, right? They're like little worry dolls. Like muñecas quitapenas are like the Spanish way of saying like people call them worry dolls, but like I feel like it's like a more like accurate translation is something like they lift worry or like lift weight or lift
You take away
embarrassment
pain.
even take away pain.
Kita penas, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
It takes away pain.
It's a bit like a teddy bear.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, actually, quick segue. I read something that the Robert the doll that was bought in Germany story, like the guy who had made it was the inventor of the teddy bear, and that this like random Robert the doll that they had bought was not even a doll. It was just like a stage prop that they had made because they made a bunch of different things.
Oh my
But
goodness.
supposedly it's the same guy who invented the teddy bear.
Yo.
Another fact about the teddy bear, it was named after Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So I don't know if that's true, but that's like the last thing I read of just like, okay, well, that's an interesting connection. But anyways, back to the little muñequitas. So that's what they're for. So when you, for example, you have a kid and like they have bad dreams or they're like just having, like certain negative emotions, like you just give them a doll and they keep them with them and then the doll will absorb or just take away or lift that negative emotion from you. And the story comes from even like the Maya creation myth. So you have Ixmucane, and she is the daughter of the sun god and also known as the grandmother, like kind of the equivalent of Mother Earth, right? And she is the one that ultimately made humans. So a little bit of I've lifted this from like various translations of like old stories, but before the beginning of time, there was nothing but the great darkness above.
An endless black ocean below. Then, the sovereign plumed serpent moved, Ixmucana, the grandmother, and Xpiakok, the grandfather. Brought the earth from beneath the waters. The valleys and the mountains appeared, and the land was covered with beautiful forests where giant trees were tied together with tangled vines. Then, they created the animals, deer, birds, snakes and jaguars. They ordered the serpents to be their guardians of the vines, and the birds to build their nests in the trees. That was the end of the great silence. And the world then laughed like clear water, as it rushed over the rocks. sang with the sweetness of birds and cried like the wind running through the woods and fields. But, there was no creature on the face of the earth to give thanks for what the grandparents had done. There were 3 experiments, but
Each ended in failure. First, they had made men out of clay or mud, but they just sank back, crumpled back. Then they made them out of wood, but they found that they were soulless. They were husks. And so they flooded the earth to destroy the wood. And finally, there was corn. The animals showed Ixcumenake a mountain, abundant with fruit and corn. She took the kernels of the white corn and the kernels of the yellow corn. She ground them 9 times until the dough was fine and soft. Then gathered the dough in her hands. She created the first 4 human beings. They were the Maya, the children of Ixmucane. And long story short, from here onwards, is that her father, the sun god, he gave her the power as well to lift negative emotions, to kind of cure ailments, or to take away the bad things from people, negative things in general. And then they had started making dolls in honor of her. And these were the dolls that after centuries became the little muñequitas that are now basically tourist attractions of like
And
nuns or children make and sell to people.
And in practice, how did they use them? What is it? Is it because they're called worry dolls, right? Right. So they're made, and then it's sort of believed that those worries are then transferred to the doll, or what do you?
Yeah, they're absorbed by the doll basically. So you keep them with you.
They're like little black holes for bad energy.
Exactly.
It's like a stress ball.
Yeah, yeah. It's and if you look at them, because like they're tiny and they're like
cute,
unassuming and they're cute, and I think you just keep them with you. They sleep next to you,
hanging on a necklace or something, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think I connect with it too, because it's like a lot of like immigrant stories in the U.S. as well, like with especially Guatemala. Like I know there's a tourist thing that people go and then they buy like Guatemalan little worry dolls, and they're like, oh, look at these cute little things. But like I think aunts or parents can still give their kids, and it's like sometimes it forms a nice connection to like heritage,
So it's interesting because it's like it takes worries away, which is like a mother would do in the same way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like it's an honor. Like I think originally it was really an honor to Ixcumac. I'm so sorry. Excommunicated Mother Earth.
Difficult word.
The corn mother.
The corn mother.
Yeah, there was this. There's a story, and it sounds just like this, where the corn mother created human beings out of corn, and then in the end had to give up her life and become corn for her children so they can eat from her. It's kind of this kind of messianic story of that they were starving, or I think there's one that I heard that the sons killed her, murdered her, and in murdering her, they created the corn.
Is this like also Maya, or
this is Maya also?
Yeah.
At least Native American, that is. And then they give up, and then she gave up her body so that the people could eat. So there's another way in which she took away drought, or I think this whole corn mother might be a common thing across Native American populations.
There's one interesting thing about corn that relates to this is that there's a lot of in like the mythos, the Maya mythos, that people were created from corn because they were molded by the gods. But what I find very fascinating is that these people in this area in Mesoamerica created corn themselves. Like there's no wild corn available. Like the closest thing there exists is like this weird like leaf thing that like won't produce like food at all.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yeah, so like it's like our greatest like bioengineering feat, literally, of like we created corn.
Yeah, and before
Like we didn't find wild corn.
Yeah, and they weren't yellow at first as well, right? They were like multiple colors, right?
No, bro. It's not even that. It's like there was no corn.
There was no corn at all.
There was no corn at all.
Exactly.
Like there was like different like colors of like bananas and shit, you know, and like other fruits, but there's like no wild corn. It's just we don't exactly know what initial thing we turned into corn, I think.
Well, a mother apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently.
It's a bit disturbing, but
Yeah,
please,
so it's
please
like-
don't do that. Just go to the
So
supermarket.
I find that such a nice parallel because it's also with like creation myths and with dolls in general, like there's something about just molding, you know what I mean? Like they molded the corn, and so it's like such a valuable part of your civilization and like the reasons you exist, because it's like your whole like this is why you eat, this is the reason you're alive.
Yeah.
And full circle, you know, why not? I guess I don't know. I'm trying to say you are what you eat, but that's just that's such a redundant. But like it just comes full circle of like we have been molded by it as well, because we depend on it. We molded it, but we ultimately cannot live without this. And I think that's really cool. And like there's like the Sumerian creation myth, so like, you know, they were also molded from clay. And you know, are we projecting? Sorry, are we projecting onto the gods of like, you know, we created little dolls. I wonder, they're bigger than us. They probably created us too.
I mean,
You
in
know?
a way, humans want to be gods, right? I mean, that's the essence. The essence.
That's why I play City Skylines. Making my little city there, you know. I'm the god of this city.
No, but that's
the creator.
that's the essence of a lot of stories, right? Like the Greek mythology, we create fire, but God told us not to. We're trying to take, I think it's oftentimes in these folklore stories that we're trying to take control, too much maybe, and then are either punished by the gods or. And I think it's the same principle in terms of we want to create something. We are creators. We want to create something ourselves as well. So if you believe that a God created humans, then we just create other humans, which are dolls. You know, like we tend to create a lot, and we want to have control. Power over something, and creating a doll is.
I'm sure
And it
that
makes
so
me
many.
wonder-
Oh, sorry, you first. No, I'm so sure that like back in the days before all the modern science and this and that, people try to like blast life into these dolls.
That's exactly
You know what I mean? Like Frankenstein type of stuff. You know?
That's exactly what I was trying to get at. It's just like, if it's true that we are projecting onto this unknown thing that is a God, there's something that we also do, right? Religiously, like with the Corn Mother story, the Corn Mother created human beings, and then human beings turned around and killed her, right? And then we have just in different spaces in which we tend to murder God, right? Like in Christian religion, we crucified Jesus, right? In the Corn Mother, we crucified for political reasons. The Corn Mother for economic reasons. In philosophy, you know, God is dead, right? For philosophical reasons, we just find ways of killing the thing that we think is our creator. And if we're creating these things, are we finding the urge, or are we fearing the urge that the thing that we're going to create
It's gonna kill us.
for whatever it needs to survive, be it political, economical, philosophical, religious, whatever it needs to survive, artificial intelligence, I'm talking to you, right? Whatever it needs to survive, is it going to turn
Please
on
spare
us?
us. Yeah.
Is it going to turn on us for its own survival at some point?
Yeah. No, that's super interesting, and I mean, obviously, that's a more real threat than dolls. That it could be the end of us.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting observation.
I mean, once we start, you know, having like smart dolls that can like react to us. They'll be the same. They'll be one and the same.
Whole doll armies also.
Like a little clown doll that reacts to you and learns from your behavior.
And then
We are going to create the thing that we fear the most. I feel like that's what's happening.
Us.
Yeah, and it's beautiful because you're saying that, because for again, we fear voodoo dolls, but voodoo dolls are also healing dolls.
Yeah.
But we fear the evil aspect of it. And just like dolls are cute and they help people to be, foster and nurturing part of them.
Why did
But
we
it-
corrupt food? Sorry, I interrupted you.
Because it can be used for nefarious reasons also.
Yeah.
So I think what we do is just focus on that, because negative bias psychologically, we focus on the thing that we think is going to hurt us because we need to survive, right? But I think that's the truth about all of these things over time. But you usually, and human beings are a fascinating thing, that we become the thing we hate the most. We look at the things that we hate about our parents, and all of a sudden we find ourselves doing it. We become miniature versions of our parents and do the things that we hate. And we know there's things that are going to kill us, right? And we fear them. But it seems like we keep on making them.
definitely.
We keep on going further and further into the darkness of our own
There
destruction.
we go back again to the dark tourist thing.
Right.
It's just something super interesting about dark stuff,
Yeah, about sex
that's-
and death.
Somehow this is just the thing that piques everyone's interest. We want to dive deeper and deeper, no matter if it can harm you or whatever. You just want to find out the truth. Why do we watch a horror movie? Like, it's not even
Why do we watch horror movies?
It's not even a nice feeling in your body.
Honestly, I watch horror movies because I can laugh at myself afterwards for being so scared. Like, I'm like actively thrill seeking with horror movies.
Me too,
and
me too.
that's
I love
what
it.
many people
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
They go for the thrill of that sense of death approaching.
I hate it.
Some people,
Before we close this podcast, I want to just like throw this in there or ask this to you guys. Like, what's your top dull, scary movie that you've seen, if you have?
Yeah. But does it have to be scary? Because
No,
I mean,
just like the-
I'm not a fan of scary movies.
Okay,
but
just any.
obviously-
Martin's about to say Toy Story.
yeah, Toy Story.
that freaked me out.
That scared me.
Why is he chasing the
No,
boy?
but like a movie that I really love that also I think connects so well. I think it's called Soldiers or something like that. Or Soldiers.
Oh, Little Soldiers or
think
Toy
so.
Oh,
Soldiers?
with those green
Toy soldier?
plastic things.
No,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
the
yeah.
green plastic
Yeah,
things.
yeah, well-
Army Men.
Army Man. No, that's
I
a
think-
game, no?
I think they're called Soldiers.
Yes,
or something
but
like that. But there's this movie, and then you have these army guys,
Yeah.
And they started
yeah.
with
Yeah.
what's his name?
and then what happens is the same as Toy Story.
With
basically.
Robin Williams was in that, I think.
I'm not sure.
Toy Soldiers.
Yeah, it's Little Soldiers.
Little Soldiers.
Little Soldiers.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Oh,
continue.
sorry. I looked up the wrong thing. This is a
It's not Little Soldiers.
this is a Telugu language film made in 1996.
No,
That's
Toy
not-
Soldiers, I think it's called, with Robin Williams.
It's okay.
Toy Soldiers.
So
could be,
explain me more.
wait, I'll read.
1991 film, Toy Soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show me the picture.
Yeah, that seems familiar to me.
No.
And the soldiers started to attack the kids.
Yeah.
The picture of the soldiers. Show me the picture. Like, go to Google Images.
Small Soldiers.
Yeah.
No, it's called Small Soldiers,
Small Soldiers.
1998 American action comedy film.
Small Soldiers. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is Toy Soldiers.
No. Look at that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
Small
one.
Soldiers.
This one.
Okay. I'll redo this.
Okay.
No, so one movie that I always found fascinating as a kid, apart from ants and stuff like that, was what's it called?
Small.
Small Soldiers.
It's called Small Soldiers. So it's basically a Toy Story, but then with soldiers, so doll soldiers, and they become alive, and then they start having a war against each other. I don't know why I think it's fascinating, but I think you're playing with like Lego and stuff like that when you're younger, and you're trying to imagine this world with them. So I think if that world is somehow created for you, that's fascinating. And I think something comes alive, and you you see that and you're like, oh, that's cool.
I
They
agree.
Yeah.
they
I
have their
freaking-
own, you know.
I
They have their
freaking
own-
love that movie, dude.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So
it's
what's your
really-
favorite movie though?
But this actually scary movie.
No, it doesn't have to be. I mean, just anything with
Yeah.
dolls or these kind of things. you know?
I mean, I was fascinated by Chucky when I was a kid
Chucky.
because it terrified me.
Yeah.
But then it turns out it was like a dark comedy later, you know?
Yeah.
But like when I was like 6, I was just like, wow, this
Yeah.
is terrifying.
Yeah, totally.
And then I still haven't seen Annabelle,
I didn't.
and I feel like it's on my movie list, but it takes forever for me to watch scary movies because I find it no fun to watch them alone.
After this video dropped, comment us in the comment of this podcast how it was.
Yeah,
Podumentary.
tell me how Annabelle was because there's like 3, I think now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta watch that. But yeah, Chucky was just crazy good for
Yeah.
me.
I agree.
Yeah.
Scary as shit.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it wasn't intended like that.
No,
But it was.
but yo, when you're 6 and like that little doll has a knife and he's like laughing maniacally, you're
Yeah.
just like, I'm done now.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm done too.
And for you, Dane?
I will say that there's 2. There's House of Wax. House of
old
Wax, which old school, but that chilled me because of course you never know which one was which one.
Yeah.
Right? And the fact that and this is I don't know if I should bring that up, but the fact that like we became the waxes, we became the dolls, we become the thing, you know what I mean? That we should be creating was a little bit unnerving. And it still happens to me today, folks, when I see a botched up job, just saying. And the second one is Megan.
Oh, that's like 2 years ago. That's
That's recently. And it's not so much that it's the fact that I feel like it could happen, right? It's not going to happen the exact same way, but there's this sense that if we don't get this thing under control, that this thing there's some possibility to this thing happening where it goes out of control. And in its calculation of trying to help.
Yeah, we haven't seen Megan. What are you talking about? What's going out of control?
Okay, so Megan basically is an AI doll, a doll infused
You
with
love the
artificial
AI.
intelligence.
Oh, I did, when we were talking about that, I didn't know that was already a movie.
Yeah, but the problem is that
No
they
idea.
treat the doll just like you treat children now, iPad kids now. You put them in front of the iPad and you let the iPad raise your kids, or you let the internet raise your kids. And that's the same thing with this thing. It's like, oh, it can be her friend, but then it started to be her mother, and it started to be her confidant, and it started to be all of these things to the child, and the child got so attached to it, and then it starts to read that any separation from the child is not in the child's best interest, and so anyone who's trying to do that is a danger to the child, and so it starts to.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
That's crazy because I see with the Robert the Doll story, because I'm still convinced that it was, something happening with the kid and his attachment to the child. Like it's like very, like his outburst and blaming the doll or like being connected to the doll,
Yeah.
like being inseparable. Like it's probably something that's happened many times before.
Yeah.
Yeah, comments. If
Yeah.
comment box or viewers, if you have any of these stories or examples or things that you want to share about these kind of situations,
Yeah.
situs, I learned.
Situs.
situs. No, that's Dutch. Please drop it in the comments. Definitely, like just interesting to hear other perspectives from other people about these things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And to close it off, your story.
My story, I was gonna say Chucky, but now he did that already. But and then all of a sudden, another thing also popped in my mind. It's not like fully like a doll movie, but it's about like a little tiny creature that we made ourselves. Coming back to that, and that it started to life. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's called Flubber.
Flubber.
It was like a green little
No
doll
idea.
thing, and that thing
Yeah.
it just fascinated me as a kid. It was just like
It's like a Pokemon.
It's like a Pokemon, but constructed by a human, and then it starts to live. And it was the most.
It's an
Flubber.
awesome
I've
Yeah, it
never
was
heard
amazing,
of it.
right? That was amazing, right?
I've never
Yeah.
heard of it. Okay.
So yeah, if you haven't
That's
seen
sick.
that, watch it.
Wait, can I throw a random one that this is like reversed?
Of course.
But it's like reversed Uncanny Valley, the thing. Because you're, bear with me for a second, because you're watching the whole movie trying to figure out what's wrong with the person who is the thing at that moment. And you can't see what's wrong. So
I
it's,
haven't seen this movie.
John Carpenter's like The Thing. Like it's basically Among Us, but in 1980s.
Okay.
Like they're like in an Arctic or Antarctic outpost, and they've discovered this like alien creature, and then it kind of absorbs whatever biological thing around them and like takes on their shape. So like at any one moment, any of them could be the thing, and it's just them trying to survive, and they're being picked off one by one, but they never know which of them is the thing. And like the whole time you're watching the movie, you're trying to just get little details of like something being just off, but you can never tell.
Yeah.
So it's like exactly the opposite feeling of like you're unsettled because you're looking for something that's weird, but you can't find it.
Yeah.
Whereas with the dolls,
pretty annoying.
you're seeing something that's weird. You know
it's the doll.
And it's just little,
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So just
One more quick question. Answer with a yes or no. Afraid
Right.
of dolls, yes or no?
no.
Kinda.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
Me? No, but yes.
It's like now you
These
are.
stories, now I am.
Now
Yes,
you are
exactly.
for sure.
One doll I'm not afraid
One
of.
doll.
Get me in
Yeah.
a room full of dolls and I'm freaked the hell out.
Yeah. Like
Anything else that you want to add to this podcast to finish it off?
It's just thank you for the nice collaboration. I think it was a really interesting,
Vice versa. I
interesting
appreciate
journey.
it. Appreciate
yeah, man.
it
This
a lot.
was a fun talk.
Yes, sir.
Definitely. I agree.
Next-
Hopefully more to come,
Next we'll talk about twins and why they are so scary.
Yeah.
And doppelgangers.
Again, viewers, if you have anything for us, like let us know in the comments what you want us to discuss about. If there is something that is really appealing to us, we might do it. So that will be helpful. If you like this episode, of course, like, subscribe, leave a comment, drop all the love, share it. It will help a lot. And like the more you guys do that, the more chance there is that this gets a follow-up, etc. I guess,
and
right?
look up Who This Podcast as well.
Who This Podcast, links are in the description.
Yeah.
Follow all of them, the Glymp, Who This Podcast.
Yep.
And that's about it, I guess, right?
We out this piece.
Peace.
Ciao.